Hello, this video is about mail order brides and how this phenomenon is not a new topic, but how it leads to a TV show I found through a Craigslist ad. The point I want to make here is, can you buy love? Well, the obvious answer is no, but it goes to show that people will go out for opportunity for it. So before I start talking about the TV show slash YouTube video, I first want to talk about the history of mail order brides. Subject warning, women's suffrage, and just basic ethical dilemmas about mail order brides. So the earliest instance in America about mail order brides is the expansion to the West. There was a lack of women for farmers and Western expansionists. According to the 1840 census, men in Wisconsin, for example, outnumber women 2 to 1. The more west you go, the more the number only increases to about as much as 200 to 1 for men to women. The government wanted these lands used and populated, so they used a homesteading act that gives a single man 320 acres of land, but a married one 640. So men and women were more incentivized to look for a partner, and newspapers gave an out for these farmers, male and females, to find these potential spouses with their ad services. Since it was the 1880s and some women had little to no opportunity to work or make a living for themselves in big cities, i.e. like women's suffrage, they looked for hope in the West, but they were still taking a huge risk by literally dropping in the hot zone of the Western world. The more I'm reading on this, the more I'm thinking newspapers basically an intro to these lonely people, and basically these people became pen pals before definitely deciding on jumping to the West. But there are cases where it is mostly just transactional, and people just needed that escape to the West or company from the isolation. Or even worse, there was even worse outcomes where females were just gone and missing because they decided to go west, right? It was, wild time. I can just imagine farmers picking up a newspaper and be like, I kind of need more room in my house just so they can increase their starting house and get that extra expansion. I need my girl Leia to be constructing her wooden statues nearby me, okay? The next big instance was mail to order brides, which would be post World War II. The end of World War II created opportunities for cross-cultural relationships, particularly involving American soldiers stationed in Europe and Asia. Many of these servicemen married local women and brought them to the U.S., i.e. called war brides, where there are so many of these brides coming in that there is a War Brides Act that needed to be established for their faster immigration into the U.S. lands. Many women from war-torn countries like Japan, Germany, Korea, and Philippines sought marriage as a pathway to economic stability and a better life. In countries like the Philippines, matchmaking agencies emerged to facilitate connection between women and foreign men. So these war brides were kind of like the precursor of these mail-to-order like big agencies, laying the groundwork for it. But it also helped create like these popularization of pen pals. So since pen pals became more popular, it was really easy to just send an envelope, which is crazy, like actual mail to like somebody across this ocean, and eventually that envelope will get to them. But yeah, pen pals were basically pen pal programs were a precursor to modern online dating. There is still ethical concerns with male to women dating from foreign countries. While some relations were built on mutual respect, others exploited economic vulnerability of the women, creating unequal power dynamics and cultural adjustments. Many mail-to-order brides face significant challenges adapting to life in the U.S. or other Western countries, including the big one, language barriers. And since this was like, the 60s, there's a very big racial discrimination to anybody who wasn't, a white man. These issues were compounded by societal expectation that women conform to their new husband's lifestyles and norms. So this was these women were dropping in like the 60s and 50s, and this is where like again these dropping the hot zone. It was basically the rise of the modern suburban home and also the rise of like traditional wives and television. Again, since these women were treated mostly like pen pals than lovers, we will have cases where there are obvious unfair power dynamics and commodifying relationships. Now we go into the future. By the future, I mean just the 90s. Oh, the 90s, where Pokemon got more popular and video games were flourishing with the rise of the internet. The internet revolutionized matchmaking with online platforms replacing traditional catalogs. Websites allowed men and women to connect directly through messaging, video calls, and detailed profiles. The industry expanded to include women from regions like Philippines, Russia, Ukraine, and Colombia, where economic disparities often motivated participation. Yada 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 yada. The internet basically made the mail order become ship to order, and eventually Amazon will be sending this service, and I wouldn't be surprised. But now we are in 2024, and international matchmaking services are marketed as opportunities for cultural exchange and building relationships that should last. We'll emphasize more about this later. Now that I have some of the baseline information of the history, basically we started with farmers just needed wives to, you can just pick a wife some other country using Amazon. All I want to talk about is why I created this video. So I was perusing Craigslist and was looking for some work. And since I can't only survive off Magic the Gathering cards, I happened to come across this ad about a casting call for an individual who has a job, is single, not separated, a valid password between the ages of 25 to 50, has an income level greater than 50K, and looking for true love. The second thing this casting wanted is for you to pick a country where you want to like make a tour. So trying to make like a 90-day fiance kind of video. The company will be like, hey, do you want to make a tour out of this country or this country? From the Philippines to China to even Colombia. It makes you want to choose, like, go where do you want to go. The third thing is make a list of women you're interested in and submit your resume to the casting. And if you're lucky, they will pay for your hotel and events, but not airfare and visas and anything you spend while in the country. So basically this casting is more of like an ad, you know, like, hey, see this thing. And then this ad led to like a YouTube show that we created with our like services called Love for Sale. Like, they couldn't make the service even more obvious, or like their intentions even more obvious than that, right? It's a YouTube exclusive channel run by the date site that provides somewhat of the mail to order bride like services. So currently, since the making of this video, there are 4 episodes on YouTube, and it looks like they are going to make more. I think I want to talk about just the first episode and give a detailed review of it, since this will be more of a deep dive into who these people are, who will, like, you know, go for these services, and what fascinates them about finding a bride across borders. I don't mean to deface these people before I continue. This is solely my opinion, and I want to give more of a headlight to this, since it is fascinating to me, and this again is nothing new, just an evolved way of just finding a potential partner. The first episode starts with Wendell, the 51-year-old and he is a seasoned vet of the service since 2018 and fell in love with Colombia and its culture. Then we get hit with this banger of an intro here. Will Wendell strike or spare? Let's find out. Wendell explains he considers Colombia a second home, which to me, some alarm bells are going off. But yeah, let's continue. You can see him staying in Colombia from 2018, and he was saying that men are visual creatures, and now he just wants to find love with his heart rather than his eyes. He goes through his basic requirements. He wants a wife who is godly, nurturing, and compassionate, and English is optional. He doesn't want a wife who smokes, and is okay with drinking, and is open to relocating, and is okay with kids. The service also has filters about this. This is also it's an ad basically. Before any of the social events, which the service provides mostly, he got a date with Sandra, the 34-year-old. There is still a language barrier, so you see a lot of like Google Translate phone going around. But it seems like Sandra really enjoyed the date. And the show gives us a little snippet of the next girl he went on a date called Lena, the 35-year-old, and they went on a little date for the evening. The show/service here is showing you can date multiple women really easily, and dates seem easy to obtain, giving the illusion of ready-to-date women. Lena also enjoyed the date, and it was also Wendell's birthday, so after those dates, he went to sleep, and we wake up to a small montage of him getting a haircut and talking to a barber and talking about love and the dates. Now, for that evening after the sleep, we are now getting to the real meat and butter of the service/show. Which are these social events, which I find so interesting. Like, it's crazy to me how they set it up. First, they come out like Ken's getting ready with this sick intro, getting themselves ready. Let me explain the setup for the viewers. So we get multiple guys talking to women, not one at a time, but like one at 6 to 8 times on their tables. So also, before anything, the guy will get a matchmaker to help them with their journey to find love. And this matchmaker will be somewhat of a small intermediary for the guy and for the girl and guy, because they still have that language barrier to go through. But the show really makes the guys look scarce while the women looks plentiful, which is very weird to me because it's just a regular city with an average population. Onward, the system the guys do is like a heart system. If the girl likes you, she gives you a heart on her paper for a second date, and also the same for the guy, for the girls. The matchmaker will help set this up after. So it's like speed dating, but you need to speed date multiple women. But you can tell some of these ladies just came here for the drinks. Wendell also reveals he does manicures and can do the girls' manicures if they want, which gives another plus for my boy Wendell. Good job. Girl things are cool. And also they sing him happy birthday, which I think was a sweet compared to the restaurant staff doing it. Here, it looks like most of the guys here were enjoying their time, even in the background. But then we get this little pageant of women walking up on stage showing themselves off, which I see some of them as kind of awkward while doing it. Then the girls get to dance and the guys can join in, which to me dancing just like seems like fun. They look like they were just enjoying themselves, having a blast, right? Again, the show slash the site shows that like these women are like desperate. Not really, because this is an average city, average population. Then after the night's done, we get another date with Sandra, a small bit, but now we go to the next day evening, which is the speed dating part 2. So it looks like they do this for multiple nights while the clients are there. And we get another matchmaker to help align Wendell with the girls, and he says he is passionate about helping people. But then we get Lena again showed up to this event, and the person he went to a date with the first night, while he was there, setting up dates, and we get this awkward heartbeat.
To read.
The night pretty much goes as the first like speed dating night. One is just speed dating night 2, but we get another awkward runway showing off the women again, and this makes it feel like these women are desperate. But I'll talk about this more on the bias and stereotypes of this video. The video then leads to Wendell's second date with Lena, and it looks like some others are also going through a prearranged date with them. And we get them, hitting the poses. They're outside. This seems more like a group date, and you get other people using the service, and you get to see how they're also looking for love. Yeah, the show is trying to make this like the love for Wendell, or make Lena the love for Wendell. And we get a lot of cute pictures when Wendell and Lena together. And after that is done, we get a third date of them bowling after the first date. But this seems more like their own thing. It's like a separate thing, not used by like the dating site or like the prearranged site. And then we get the crew interviewing them, and it's basically they are hitting it off, and the two is talking about their like challenges, like long distance and compatibility. And it seems like they understand the challenges and the hardships. They want to work through it, and the crew asked for a kiss, and they got one. Then we talk to Maria, the matchmaker for Wendell, and the show shows Wendell actually going to multiple other dates, not just Lena and Sandra, which I was talking about earlier. We found out it was, and we also found out it was a double date on his birthday, which is like crazy to me. I'm like, you don't really have to hide that fact, but I kind of understand why. I thought it was just a single date. Yeah, and Maria's talking about how Wendell was talking about Lena only, but the services are for multiple women, so he also perused his options online and with the matchmaker beforehand. Maria's spilling all the tea that like, oh, actually Wendell's hitting, or he has other choices, and there was actually other girls that he went on date with. Here's all with this apparently a girl called this girl. I'll show it up here. He could have gotten more dates on that girl, but he just didn't like her that much and decided to do try to go for other girls. Maria said that Lena and Wendell are a good match, and it was a successful tour, which the tour is basically, Medellin City. And yeah, that's the end of it. And they said they give us an update, but I have not seen any updates anywhere. The only thing they have is the YouTube channel, and I tried looking for any updates about my boy Wendell, but I can't really find any. There are currently 3 other episodes. I would love to talk about the second episode, since it's not Colombia but China, and as you can see from the first episode, there are multiple men trying to become like passport bros. A good passport bro video I saw recently is by Papa Meat. I've literally been binging him recently, but yeah, passport bro is an American who goes to another country and uses our powerful currency to live like a king in another country, and just shows off, our hard-earned American dollars for women, and then uses them themselves, since our currency is a lot stronger than a Colombian currency or Chinese currency. I can dive deeper into this, but I won't, since there's already a lot more better videos. I feel like now it's a good segue to get to the stereotypes and ethical concerns about getting a lover from another country. Because there is a lot of stigmas, there's a lot of stereotypes, and there's a lot of ethical concerns, and I mean a whole bunch. So stereotypes. I'm just going to list it down and see if these hit home with some people. First, I'll talk about the women's stereotypes. So One stereotype is that of a gold digger.
She take my
What
money.
was that? Women are often stereotyped as being solely interested in financial security or escaping poverty, rather than seeking genuine relationships, which is no fault of theirs, but yeah. The second stereotype that a lot of Americans and media have been giving is that these women are submissive and docile, particularly from regions like Southeast Asia or Eastern Europe. They are portrayed as traditional, subservient, willing to conform to outdated gender roles, which are trad wives and male being the providers. The third obvious one, and probably the worst stereotype for these women, are that they're desperate. There's a pervasive stereotype that these women are desperate to marry and will accept any partner regardless of compatibility, which again is wrong. But these websites, especially with their catalogs, will make you think otherwise. So now that enough of the girly girls, let me talk about the dudes and how they also get stereotyped. First one is that they are socially inept. Men who use these services are often labeled as unable to form relationships in their own cultures, portrayed as awkward or lacking in social skills, which, like, come on, like, I can also see this, like, depending if, like, you know, what they're wearing. But I feel like this might be a little extreme. Second stereotype, that these men are deemed as controlling or predatory. They may be stereotyped as seeking obedient wives who won't challenge them, fostering a power imbalance, which have been, like, you know, there's obvious power imbalances throughout history. But yeah, the third stereotype is just that these men are older and wealthier. Many assume that men in this dynamics are older, divorced, or widow, and using their financial status to attract younger women. This is no surprise considering who the current president is and the first lady. But yeah, those are the major stereotypes for women and men, and the relationship can also be stereotyped as transactional, which means these marriages are often seen as business-like agreements rather than genuine partnerships, reducing the relationship to a purchase rather than a genuine, like, bond. And the biggest one that I found is that there's always a cultural mismatch. There's an assumption that cultural and language differences will make these relationships unstable or unsatisfying, which obviously, if they don't work for it, it does. And there is some truth to these stereotypes, but they are still stereotypes and should be treated as such. So now these are the basic stereotypes that I wanted to talk about. Let me go into more of the ethical concerns about finding a wife across the borders and how some of them can be really concerning. The first one I have is been referring to in the video, which is exploitation and power imbalances, since there is some economic vulnerability. Women often from economically disadvantaged regions may feel pressured to enter these arrangements as a means of survival. This raises a question about consent and whether their choices are truly free. Like, an old white dude shows up and is like, can I have you? Yeah, this just gives shivers to me. Some women become financially or legally dependent on their spouse, creating opportunities for abuse or exploitation. Yeah, so, like, these women just, like, I don't really have anybody else in my spouse. It's like they become Stockholm. They become Stockholm syndrome. Like, their abusers are literally have all the power, but they can sympathize with the abusers since that's the only people she has, right? The third, and probably one obvious one, is that human trafficking and abuse. While legitimate matchmaking services exist, unethical actors in the industry may facilitate human trafficking or exploitative relationship. This is especially problematic in cases where women are misled about the nature of their arrangement. So basically, they get catfish. So you meet this amazing 6 feet tall guy, 6 figures, a 6-inch phone, then later find out you were chatting with, you know, Ernesto 1, Ernesto 2, which were going to sell your organs to the black market, which you were wondering why they asked for your blood type and doctor exams. The objectification and commodification. The term male-to-order bride itself can be really dehumanizing, reducing women to products marketed and sold to prospective husbands, which in turn, before I was talking, it's not always the case. Like, they're not these services are just like media beforehand. And also this approach of risk treating marriages as transaction rather than partnership, which again is not always the case. There's always cases where, like, you know, love will prevail. Another concern is a rager of the actual culture and given a virtuous outlook to these out of border women. Harmful biases that undermine individuality and dignity. Why do you want girl A who lives in your hometown and have been, you know, have seen her before, just a regular person, rather than girl B who's offering her, who will love you and be dependent on literally you and can't leave your side, since would again they're dropping in the hot zone of American living. It's such like, you know, a virtuous outlook. It's like the services just want to be all like, these girls are submissive, they'll do anything you want to do, which is not the truth. Another concern is that even the government might not be on your side if you get married, or like, you know, if the girl gets married. Some countries have imposed strict regulations to protect women entering these arrangements, but loopholes still remain. For example, immigration laws might make women vulnerable to deportation if the marriage ends, reinforcing the dependency on these women. These women come to America, the dude's all like, you know what, I don't really like you as much anymore, I'm gonna negate your green card. Basically, like, hey, no green card for you. I can see these guys is like, it's just such a power imbalance, just because we have, like, you know, the good earned American dollar, which is like American number one. Yeah, let's go, baby. But American number one means that, like, some people just have way too much power. And the last ethical concern, which is probably the most obvious, is that there is a stigma and social perception. Couples often face judgment or disbelief about the authenticity of their relationship, which can strain the marriage and affect their mental health. Which, you know, get the pleasantries down. Some people will definitely look at you differently if you got like damn 3 Filipino wives coming at you. There's a billion reasons not to go for this service, but again, people still have the faint hope of finding love out there, which I think is a little commendable. Like, come on, John, do you really think you like her? Yeah, she's reliable and she treats me right. John, that's not a person. That's a Toyota Sprinter. Yeah, but she's Japanese. So now let's see if you find your love and get married. Would there be any problems? Let's say you find, you know, the best girl in the world, or like, not the best girl in the world, but you found it was like a really quick marriage, really quick love. You guys didn't really talk to each other much. You just wanted, you know, you just wanted love at that site, and you got married off. You get love and get married. Would there be any problems? Would you still have, you know, your Barbie doll of a Filipino wife or Chinese girl? Well, obviously no. There will obviously be problems. I found a documentary about this called Seeking Asian Female in 2012. How old white dude finally got his Asian wife, and basically it was being shot like a freaking horror film. Like, each shot just looked like it looked so grim and so like sad. If I had to start living with an old white man, I'll be scared. Again, if I was started to have to be living with an Asian woman, I'll also be scared. The joke goes both ways. There's also a post that these women turn into a different person once they are married and not their obedient doll. Like, I can see these dudes just complaining about, like, you know, unreal standards for like these women. There's a lot of like bad press on this, which justifiably there is. Let me talk about, you know, good press, or like, you know, some hope is what I'll say. This is a section about hope, and again, marrying abroad is not a new concept, and people have found their wives in the past and live happy marriages, like, you know, with people abroad. I think it's just a leap, and it's hard and it's scary, but it could be worth it. I feel like you just need to question yourself sometimes, like, is this what I want, or am I just like doing the stereotypes, or I just want somebody obedient, and maybe I don't want to be like, you know, completely dependent on this one person on the other side, right? I want to talk about some successful marriages now from the war brides that lived with their soldier husbands and moved back to America from the time after World War II. I found this article. I want to talk about this one woman that I found interesting and feels appropriate for the video. Her name is Alice Lawson, Belgium. There's a whole article about her meeting her husband from America during war times. She was working as a nurse, and her husband was definitely in the American military. They eventually hit it off, and he had to leave to Japan and then move back to America for his services, but she was stuck at Belgium. But while she was stuck, she also was pregnant with his son. The article heavily talks about the cultural differences and sometimes and things that she had to go through to get to America, and also how to adjust to like American living, especially Alabama, where, you know, the brothers and sisters were just having a little too much fun. They eventually found footing on Detroit and even bought a house in Detroit, explaining that it did get better. Her final quote during the article ending is like, if you love somebody, you want to do anything you can to be with them. This is Alice Lawson, a war bride. The article has other war brides from different countries. You should give it a read. It's really interesting. And I think the point I want to come across is that love can be many things, but a real relationship is finding someone you want to fight for, and it will be hard and it will be exhausting at times, but it will be worth it. Yeah, I think that's the end of the video. Maybe I should apply for the casting, even though I was looking for a job during the time. Also, don't want to give the Craigslist links because I don't think it'll be that hard to find. But the show is in the public eye. I'll probably put it down in the description if you guys want to watch the other episodes, which are really interesting. And again, who doesn't like watching like The Bachelor here and there, or like, you know, Love Island? But I think that's the end of the video, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Have a good day. Bye.